everybody, this is Bianca, and welcome to episode 1 of ReVeil. So, what is this about? We are here because we actually met through our store called the Crystal Bowl, and it's a wellness center, metaphysical gift shop. And I met these lovely ladies through services that we are offering. So, this is Misty, and she's our on-site hypnotherapist. And this is Kieran, and she is an astrologer. So, what are we doing here, ladies? Well, we have a lot of things that we wanted to talk about. So, there's a lot of things that come up in the store that most people don't talk about. So, for example, your dreams. People come in and they start asking about, what does this mean? What does that mean? So I guess the point of the show, the point of this is so we can bring these types of discussions to you, kind of collaborate. We have 3 different points of view, and eventually we will have some live discussions so we can be doing this and interacting. So where do we start? The name, what does it even mean? So what does our name mean? Let's explain it.
Well, our name is Awakening in French. And I think that with everybody that I know that I've come across lately, it seems like they've all had a certain point in which they had this awakening that brought them to this place that they are now. Whether it's spirituality or healing or some sort of modality that enables them to help others, there was some point in their life that brought them there.
Mm-hmm. Something happened.
Mm-hmm.
I guess something happened to each of us that got us to this place where we are talking about things that are not normal, right?
Right.
So, and yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, I know we all probably have really outrageous stories of how we got here, and everyone actually has their own story. And if we talk about it, you'll find that there's a lot of synchronicities and a lot of things that are similar because everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So, yeah, no, that's really great that we're able to do that and talk about things and have a platform for these oddities.
Yes.
Topics.
So do we want to share like how we got to this journey? And
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, for me, I think a turning point was when I had consistently found myself being sick, and it was one thing after another, and I went to every doctor, and I had access to the best doctors out there, and I couldn't get answers. So I had to start looking at alternative methods of finding answers. And for myself, I was directed here. I started following the guidance. I started just going where I was led.
Mm-hmm.
I began with healing my body, and healing my body just became this way of life for me, which then opened up my mind to this higher consciousness, essentially.
So it was basically a necessity.
For me,
It was a
necessity.
physical, you were physically healing, and it was needed.
It was needed. Like, my body had gotten so sick, and for years I had just tried to deal with it in other ways, whether it was changing my diet or trying to, calm my thoughts or, whatever that was, but there was still a component that was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me being so sick to the point of being debilitated that really woke me up, that there's so much more going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it introduced me to a whole world of people I never would have met, and, brought us here. I never would have met either of you. But it was just realizing, it was being aware of the environment that we were in, being aware of my surroundings and being aware of what was working for me in my life and what wasn't, and knowing that, there was this drive inside of me that said we needed a new location, and that location was going to be back in the Bay Area where I grew up. And, I started listening and started following.
There's a lot of signs definitely throughout our lives, and I think we we only really pay attention when we're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when you're ready, then signs are everywhere.
Right.
It's like sign after sign after
So
sign.
much easier to notice them
Oh yes.
and paying attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes if we don't pay attention, we have things like that happen where you are forced to pay attention.
Mhm.
Right. Because we ignore those little whispers.
Yes.
The whispers get louder and louder, and then the brick
Until
wall
it
falls
slaps you
on
in the
top
face.
of you.
Ah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that are going through that.
Right.
A lot of people physically, I mean, in physical pain. There's a lot. You can't really tell when someone's in mental anguish or emotional.
Right.
But when it gets so bad, that's when it starts manifesting physically, where they're
Absolutely.
and that's something that I know you probably see that a lot. So
Yeah, and actually that happened to me. I guess
yeah, it's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, how my journey kind of started or got kicked into high gear was I started having health problems. So I was 29 and I thought I had rheumatoid arthritis because my joints really
Wow.
hurt and I was just in pain all the time and I didn't feel good. I was always tired and all these different things that were going on. And same thing, like Kieran, I went to all these specialists and doctors, and nobody could figure it out. And it ended up being food intolerances, and that led me to other journeys that I'm sure we'll talk about on the show later. But yeah, that got me into paying attention to my body, taking care of my body, and then taking care of my body led into taking care of my mind and my emotions and dealing with things from the past that I didn't deal with all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that just led me to just being more in connection with my spirit and my body.
So that's actually interesting because now that I'm thinking about, like, I was thinking, okay, while they're talking, what am I going to say? I think mine was kind of also physical. I was just telling her earlier, about 6 years ago. So I grew up in the Philippines, so we eat a lot of fish. Fish for breakfast, fish heads for snacks. It was just a lot of fish. And about 6 years ago, I was having fish just like any normal night, and then my stomach turned. So a couple days later, I tried another type of fish, and same thing. I tried like every other day, tried a new type of fish or the fish that I've had before, and nothing was. It was like there was just a war zone in my stomach, and so I stopped eating fish and actually stopped eating all seafood. But my awakening or my awareness of spirituality didn't really start until a really kind of a crazy experience, which we'll go into more detail in another show. But I came home and one of my dogs was missing a leg, and I don't know if I told you guys that, but so I had a dog, Patches. She's a miniature Australian Shepherd, and I came home and there were two dogs, and one of them, her leg was gone. It was chewed off here. We went to the emergency room, and she'd been a 3-legged dog. We had surgery and everything. But a week later, I took that picture, and I was asking all my friends. I was like, "What happened?" There was no blood, no sign of struggle anywhere.
Weird.
Wow.
And so I started looking into crop circles and what happened, and that led me to the story of Atlantis, and of course, I'm a mermaid. I know we may not talk about it publicly, but we kind of are. And as soon as I started looking into the story of Atlantis, that was it. I meditated for the first time that night because of a panic disorder that I also had. So it was very physical.
Right.
And I did maybe, I'm actually recalling this now because it's been a while. I had several CAT scans and all these tests because I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And figured out it's spiritual. It was spiritual chaos, spiritual confusion. I had anxiety, panic disorder. I was going maybe 3 or 4 times a week to the ER, recording myself because it was crazy.
Right.
I knew I wasn't dying at 34, but I felt like I was dying.
And you weren't given any explanation.
I was given pills.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like a Band-Aid.
Yes. So that worked only up to the point where I became addicted to them. So I had to, I think I walked in and I was going to pain management classes. And I said, why am I managing my pain? So that kind of is how I got to here. So it
Yeah.
sounds like it's all about physical. It's like our bodies just was starting to give up.
It's so interesting that all three of us had the same experience. That it
is.
was like I mean, you were telling your story, and I just completely was like the
Yeah.
same thing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and also with the anxiety, I've always been very empathic and very in tune with people around me, especially people who I care about. And as a child, I remember having anxiety all the time to the point where I couldn't eat.
Really?
And
Like, how young do you remember having anxiety?
I remember since maybe about like 5 or 6 years old. Because I remember maybe
Wow.
around 6 or 7, every time I would try to have a sleepover at a friend's house, I would have like major panic attacks and need to go home. And my mom would have to come pick me up. And even at home, I would feel anxious all the time. And it was just because the environment I was in, there was a lot of negativity and yelling and things like that made me uncomfortable. But and my mom was always very upset or anxious. We had a lot going on. But as an adult, what led me back to researching what does empathic mean, was I was sick to my stomach again all the time and just very anxious, and I couldn't sleep, and a lot of problems with my like digestive system. Like I would feel like throwing up.
It's
all
like
the
your
time.
body was
It
like
was
going
just like
chaos. It was
yeah,
like
and
it was,
so
yeah.
it learning, part of my journey too has been learning how to be quiet and shield myself and know when it's me and not somebody else's emotions that are affecting me.
When you were little like that, did you even know what an empath was? Did you understand that not everything was you and that you were absorbing it from other people? Or?
No, I just felt sick all the time. And
We're good.
we just thought the sprinklers were gonna turn on. So
You know what?
That actually would have been really funny.
Yeah, I'm in a white dress.
No, we're safe.
So I didn't even know what the word. Oh yeah. I didn't even know what the word empath was.
Right.
It really. I don't know if I truly know. So what is it? Is it? I don't know. I think everyone is an empath to a point, right? We
Yes.
all are emotional, but what does it mean? Like you being empathic
Yes.
is you're just more open to it, or you're more receptive to it, whereas some people maybe are more blocked.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people.
Well, I mean, every human is born with the ability to heighten all of their senses, to develop heightened senses, and being empathic is one of those extrasensory perceptions where you may feel an emotion. Like I notice this quite often in myself, where I can be feeling great and I'm happy and everything's wonderful, and then within a second, someone might walk in the room, and without me even paying attention to what just happened, all of a sudden I could be mad for reasons I can't even put my finger on. But like my daughter might come in the room and she's having a really bad day.
You know what? Is that what they call a mood swing? Like when you have a mood swing and it's unexplained, it could be that
It could very well
someone
be,
else.
yeah, right? Because it took me a long time. I mean, I don't even know if it's been a full year that I realized that was what was going on with me. It was just like I pick it up from everyone around me. But now that I've started paying attention, I notice it all the time. And like my whole life, I was one of those kids who always had tummy issues, right? I always was nauseous and that sort of thing. And what I found now is that when I'm in certain environments, my nausea will just come like right away. And that is my body telling me it's not a good place for me.
Yeah.
Like it's time to leave.
Yeah.
And I never knew that before.
Yeah.
You know what? It's because we can you can increase all of your senses, heightened awareness to literally become superwoman, right? You can hear better, you can smell, you can, feel different things before actually seeing them.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because Have any of you had the experience, because I know it had happened to me for years, where I would be fast asleep and I would swear I'd hear my kids calling my name in the middle of the night, and it sounded like they were right there with me going, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," and I would look up and they weren't there. Or I would hear them calling me, and then they weren't there, and so I'd get up out of bed, I'd go check on them, and they were fast asleep.
I have not, but I've had something kind of similar where
Yeah.
I saw something
Right.
and I'm pretty sure I was asleep there, where you're in that in-between state where I was physically asleep, mentally awake. Uh-oh. Let's just, hold on 1 second. It's still going. Where I was physically asleep and mentally awake, and you're kind of in that in-between state. Your physical eyes are closed, your astral eye is open, so everything's actually clear. And I saw this little red, probably about this tall, glowing spirit-looking thing. Wasn't scary. It almost looked like he was playing a joke. And he ran down the hall towards my son's room. And so I woke up, went to my son's room, and his nose was bleeding. So
It is red.
and this is actually this is the second time, because my other son had some nosebleeds a long time ago. Something similar happened. So we are aware. There's so
Right.
many things that like we don't see. Our
Right.
range, our vision is infrared to ultraviolet, right? So your chakra range, that's all you can see. There's so much more out here and in between. So yeah, as you work on it, you have superpowers.
Yeah, my daughter, when she was really little, she would sleepwalk. And I think that they call it something else, but she would sleepwalk and her eyes would be awake and she would talk to me and everything, and she didn't remember anything. And so what I would do is I'd be dead asleep, and then I would wake up, have a weird feeling, and I'd go in the living room and she'd be sitting there on the couch just like this, and I would say, "Sweetie,
Yeah.
what are you doing?" And she goes, "Huh? Nothing. Nothing." And I said, "Okay, we're gonna go back to bed now." And then I would take her back to bed, and she'd go to bed, and then the next day she wouldn't remember it. So that's something weird that would happen to me sometimes, because that happened often. Maybe not, maybe like once a quarter, like every 3 months. Or
I hope I don't sleepwalk.
that would
I mean,
be
that would be
I've never
creepy.
seen
Like
dangerous.
we're, yeah.
It's dangerous.
It is, yeah.
And then another thing that you mentioned was our sense of smell. So for
Right.
me, I used to wear tons of perfume, and I loved having all the plugins in your house that have the, all the smells. And I would always have candles burning and all these different smells everywhere. And then all of a sudden, I just couldn't handle perfume. Certain lotions, it would smell like chemicals to me. It would burn my eyes, started burning my eyes. I just became very sensitive to smell.
About how long ago was that?
Probably around the time I started meditating and just cleaning up my body,
That makes
probably
sense.
like 5 years ago. And when I was pregnant, I couldn't have
Oh,
any
gosh.
smells.
Yeah.
I mean, not even nothing.
Yeah.
Not even essential oils.
Our bodies are smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It knows when toxins don't belong.
Well, and I mean, smell is a sense too, right? Like I've had a really heightened sense of smell my entire life, and I've always been very sensitive to smells, and I didn't really think of it as a gift. I thought of it as kind of
Now
the
you
bane
just
of my
smell more
existence
things?
Being
because
like an annoyance.
because right, but then I remember there was this one time when I think it was the flu or something, because I was sick for 2 months and I was really, really, really sick. And then when I got better, I lost my sense of smell for several months completely.
Wow.
Wow, that is
Completely.
so
I couldn't
weird.
smell
How do you
anything.
eat?
Exactly, because nothing tasted good anymore. Like you don't even realize how much your taste is associated with your smell, like the way how you smell things. And it was the greatest gift for that period of time, because it was like, as a mom, like we're taking care of our kids and they're like throws up or something. It's like suddenly I couldn't smell it. I couldn't smell anything. It was kind of a crazy thing. But then But then it came back, and it's
Like all of a
strong.
sudden it came back?
All of a sudden it came back.
Huh.
And it was gone for a while, and then it came back. And I mean, and the crazy thing is that I often will smell things that aren't there.
Hopefully
Like-
not burning
Oh.
hair.
Well,
Because
no,
I've smelled that
Yeah, that's
once in a while. and that
I haven't
freaks me
smelled
out.
burning hair, but
burning
we
hair
are,
is
you know,
disgusting.
we are vegan, right? But I will smell meat cooking every now and then, like in the middle of the night. And I know that there's no one
Yeah.
cooking meat, but I will smell that. And yeah, just strange things like that. I don't ever smell like, you know, they say like sometimes you can smell like a rose perfume, and it could be
Yeah,
your
I know that
grandmother.
hasn't
I mean,
happened
that's
to me.
never happened, but I do get a lot of like random smells.
Mhm.
I've smelled
Ever.
men's cologne,
Mm.
where there's definitely no man around. And,
Yeah.
I asked my friend about it, and she said she's a psychic, and she said it could be like a spirit that
Mhm.
wants you to know they're there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know, but it's happened. It happened especially when after my youngest was born. It happened to me quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the only time I ever smelled anything funky like that wasn't there was I was 16. It was so scary. If you've ever smelled like burning hair, have you ever smelled burning hair?
Mhm.
It's
Only when-
horrible.
Yeah,
like
an
curling
accident.
I
hair.
accidentally, yeah, I
Oh,
accidentally,
really?
yeah, I
Yeah.
accidentally did that. But so I smelled burning hair, and not to like be all spooky. So I followed the smell, and I went to. It was a house behind our
Wait, you were
townhouse.
sleeping?
No, it was like in the middle of the. It was like
Oh.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was in high school. Maybe I was a sophomore, and I followed the scent behind the other house, which was nobody lived there, and there was. I kid you not, a pile of burning hair.
That's
Really?
weird. Maybe someone was like,
So I mean,
Isn't
but you
that
smelled
weird?
it. It was actually there.
Yeah, but isn't that just strange?
that is very
I
strange.
think I ran away. I think it was like.
Yeah, I don't think that was a good
Because just as like
thing that was happening
Yeah.
right there.
I don't know if and I don't know if I've gone into all this detail, but when I was 16, I got in a motorcycle accident. So I was in a coma for a couple weeks. My memory is not great. So the memories that I have are like I can count them, and that's one of them.
Are they like snapshots, or do you remember them like
I remember
in a
little video snippets, like little videos,
right?
and the only memories I have of my entire childhood, up to like maybe a couple years ago,
Yeah.
were probably the memories that you never want to remember. Like the memories that
Wow.
you don't want to remember
Yeah.
are the only ones that I really have.
So you don't remember like the happier
Oh.
memories. You remember the dark.
I remember
serious
seeing a
memories.
kitten get run over, but I don't remember like. I actually don't remember anything.
How old were you? What's the youngest that you recall being?
I think I was maybe 6 or 7 when I was locked in the closet because I lied to my mom. I told her the school was closed. Yeah, I started young. I didn't want to go to school, and I said something, and I ended up they put me in this huge like a walk-in closet. It's not child abuse. And then I started talking to someone, and you know what's really weird is I haven't thought about this since forever until just now. I think I was talking to someone in the closet.
Right. Well, we all, you know, kids and their imaginary friends.
So it's really odd as we're talking about things that things are coming up.
Yeah.
I bet I could regress you to some.
Oh my gosh.
we
So
we
by
should
the
do
way,
that one
we were talking about this.
day.
So she's our
Yes.
hypnotherapist at the store, and I've actually never done hypnotherapy.
I keep trying to get her.
Oh my
to do
gosh,
it.
I
I'm
promote
like,
it all the
"Oh,
time.
pretty
I promote it all the
soon,
time."
pretty soon."
I've always been convinced that I can't like.
I'm
be
scared.
fully
I am scared.
hypnotized.
I am scared.
No,
I'm
why?
I don't know. I think
Are
I'm
you
scared.
scared?
Something's gonna come up that you don't want to know.
Oh, yeah, I really don't know why I'm scared, but I am so scared. Like we were talking about past life regression, and I'm like, I know it. I just know that it was something dark. It was a rough death somehow, like drowning, and it was just really scary. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of don't want to go through that.
But
I was afraid of that. So when I first heard about past life regression, I said, well, I want to do that to people, and I've never even done it. But I went and got got a session for myself, and that was my biggest thing, was I was afraid of reliving the
Right.
death scene. They call it the death scene.
Oh my god.
Well, because that.
And it really isn't, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I didn't have horrible, like, deaths where I was, like, tortured or anything in those lives, but you don't really feel it. It's like, you remember it, but it's not, for me anyway, it wasn't a very emotionally tied memory. So one of my lives that I experienced through regression was I had gotten in a fight, and somebody hit my head really hard, or I don't know, I had an injury to my head, and I just had a faint headache. In my experience in the session.
Really?
But
Ooh.
the other one, I don't
Did you
even remember
did you
how she
die
died.
immediately in that life?
No, I think that I would remember laying in a bed, and like there was people around me, because so how we do it is we say, now go to the last day of your life, or the last hours of your life, and who's
Wow.
around you, and
Yeah, see, even
know.
just you saying that, I'm like going, I don't
Let's
know
do
if I
it.
want to do this. I don't know if I want to do this.
yeah,
I mean, I do, but
So what do you?
it could be very helpful.
What do you do with it? Like once you get there, what do you do with that experience? Like, does it help you reintegrate those parts of yourself? Or
Yeah, it
that-
can help reintegrate parts of yourself or understand parts of yourself. Like for me, my first experience was the first life I experienced. I was a female, and it was a long time ago, like in Turkey or something, like over there, and because I didn't know exactly, whatever. And then so I learned from my mother how to be more feminine, how to have a feminine influence without being so strong. Because in my life now, I kind of bullied men I was with a little bit, and it was my way or no way, and I would just be very aggressive.
in this life?
Yes, in my life now. And so that was one thing I took away from that session, was to be more feminine, and you don't have to be so like rawr to people,
Right.
use your femininity a little bit more.
See,
I
I'm the
kinda wanna-
opposite.
And then
I don't know
I
about
was like, okay, well, she was like, okay, well, that's great, the stuff that we got from the session was great. And she's like, okay, well now, and I said, no, but I'm feeling very much a lot of resistance, like, no. And she said, okay, go into that. And so I went into another life where I was a man, and I was a big man, and I was powerful and strong, and I was a fighter, and I made people respect me. And that's what I took more into my life.
So
now.
what you're saying is our spirit is genderless.
Well, you change genders from life to
Right,
life.
from
Yes.
life to life, you can go to be any gender.
Do you think in most of your past lives you were a male or female? I feel like I had to have been a female in most of mine, because I'm
not sure.
so
I think
deep in my femininity.
I might have been a male more.
I think I probably
I think
was
I'm-
male.
yeah.
I agree with you with being more female.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Maybe.
I'm not like that. I'm too nice. I need to be.
I mean, it's all about how
like.
you've grown up and everything also, but
Right.
yeah, I think sometimes I lean more toward the masculine parts.
Yeah.
And so anyway, from that session, what I took was know when to balance it. You need more balance. You need to
Right.
balance your feminine and
Oh
masculine.
yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm really bad at, by the way, is balance.
Well, we all need balance, right? Like I need more of the masculine balance. Like I need to balance my masculine with my feminine, because I'm so heavily in my feminine. So as a woman, I've played that traditional role too in my life, right? Like I got married
Like
and
she
immediately.
took me shopping yesterday for this dress, by the way. I mean, like that's something that I just don't do.
Yeah.
But you made it real easy. Like it was actually a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
going back to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
No,
you
yeah.
feel that in your experience, that you came in, you did your past life regression to learn something in your present life.
Yeah, I did it because I was curious, really. And everyone has challenges that they go through in different parts of their life. And one of my challenges was with my romantic relationship at the time. And I was just like, what do I need to know to make things better? Because we can always be better, right? And that was one of the things, was just learn to balance your feminine and masculine. And there were other things I got from it as well, like taking better care of myself, listening to my intuition more, and but that was the main thing that really helped me, because for me, everything was always so, blinders on, go one way, and now I try to look at things from lots of different ways and know when is the best time to use which.
Well, that's a real great lead into just kind of going around back to the name of the show. Is it's about revealing, unveiling, seeing through things that we couldn't see before because we had blinders.
Absolutely.
We had a veil.
We had a veil, and then, or you were, what is that saying? Okay, I hope I don't mess this up. You can't see the full picture if you're in the frame. So when you pull yourself out of the frame, then you can see, oh, well, that's actually this, because then you're not emotionally linked to the situation. You're now just watching it and maybe, making some comments and learning from it.
Well, I think people say it a lot of different ways. Like, I have a dear friend who says like that when you're in the box, you can't see outside of the box. Your whole world is just the box that you're in.
Yes.
Or they call it like the frog in the well syndrome, where
What is the frog in the well
well,
syndrome?
the frog, when it's down in the well, it's kind of like he just can see what's around him in that well, right? And then he gets out of the well eventually someday if someone rescues the frog, and then he can see there's
The
a
whole
whole huge world
Yes.
out there. Like, if he's born in that well, all he sees is what's there in the well with him.
Well, after that incident for me, it's literally a whole new world. By the way, I do sing that randomly when I'm in the shower because I seriously, I wake up and I'll start thinking the things that, oh my gosh, or isn't that the Little Mermaid? But so I start, or no, that's Under the Sea. Oh my gosh, okay, we are not singing, but
I believe it was Aladdin.
Yes. I want to someday ride a magic flying carpet.
Okay.
So,
You can.
let's...
I think they have a ride like that at Disneyland or something, right? Maybe? Or maybe they did
The
once.
power of intention,
Yes.
which that would be a great topic. So, I know I could sit here and talk for days, but we probably need to wrap this up. And what I wanted to do is, what are we going to talk about next time? Because we could we could go into 1,000 different directions.
Why don't we ask our people, like, what would they like to see? Do you guys have any topics that you would like to discuss? Maybe we can open up like a poll and see if people want
Yes.
something in particular.
Yes, I like it.
Right?
We all have things that we kind of hone in on, but then we go into our blinders. So you totally, because I was like, oh, I want to talk about this, and you're like, no, take off your blinders. Let's see what other people. That is a great suggestion. We're gonna do that. So we'll have to figure out how to do the poll and see what you guys want to talk about, and we will go from there. Is there anything else you guys wanted to share?
We touched on some great topics, and there's more that I want to go into that past life regression, because there's a whole component I want to add to that too, and go even deeper into that. There's so many things, but we've touched on so many different things that
the possibilities
come
are
back and
endless with
revisit.
this conversation. Really, it's. Can I also, while we're here, can I just bring up this table? This is the best table for this setting. So this spiral, right? So is this this is the element of water, right? Or what does this
Is
represent? Is it water? Can't be fire.
I think it's life.
Yeah.
Right? It represents,
like
the
an ancient
spiral is
symbol.
life. Like you begin, and there's so many layers, and you go through.
I think I'm going to talk about that at the next show.
Like your soul on different carnations.
Well, and I am going to be learning a whole healing modality called the spiral. And
Really?
it takes you through, beginning with, your root chakra all the way up, and clears all the emotions that are trapped within each layer, all the way up to your crown, to enlightenment.
There you go.
I can't wait.
All right, so we will be talking about what you guys would like us to talk about. And we will see you the next time we find another perfect, amazing day like today, which
Yeah.
is every day, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
I
every
think we'll have a
day.
few of them.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe if they put comments below the video on Facebook, we
Mhm.
can see which comments get the most.
Yeah.
This is our first time, our first show. I
Yeah.
think we did pretty darn good.
Yeah. I think so too. This is
And
fun.
Yeah.
and we have about 2 minutes before the battery dies. So
So,
see you guys next time.
yes. Thank you,
Bye.
ladies.
Bye.